Hello, pioneers. I want to extend a very warm greeting to everyone. We're going to show the CryptoKid podcast's live conversation with Dr. Nicolas Kokkalis, the creator of the Pi Network, in today's video. In this interview, he addressed all KYC-related queries and concerns and revealed a wealth of fascinating details about the Pi Network that you, as a pioneer, were unaware of. Enjoy this highly educational video while you relax and rest.
Hello, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for jumping on the Crypto Kid podcast. So what's your background and how did you get into cryptocurrency?
Hi, and thanks for having me. I was actually involved in the space before even the invention of Bitcoin, and that was actually due to my research interests at the university. So I'm a computer scientist. I did my PhD and postdoc at Stanford University, and my interests are in distributed systems, which is essentially what a blockchain is. The precursor to blockchain existed many years before, and social computing, which is related to human-computer interaction and crowdsourcing. So as part of my master's thesis, I created a framework for writing smart contracts on fault-tolerant distributed systems. And of course, back then it wasn't called smart contracts and it wasn't called the blockchain, but it was similar concepts. And then, as part of my postdoc, I introduced and taught a class at Stanford University at the computer science department there, the CS359B, which was teaching students how to design decentralized applications on blockchain. And now in this class, students created and deployed multiple functional working prototypes of decentralized applications, but they all got stuck in having people to use them. And that's mostly because many reasons, but user experience related reasons on blockchain back then. But one core blocking point was that before anyone can use any of those apps, they needed to acquire cryptocurrency to pay for the gas fees. Now, at Stanford is also where I got to meet my other founder of Pi, Chen-Yao Fan, where she also did her PhD there as well. And it's our academic career and personal interests that is what truly led to create the Pi Network, which we founded at the end of 2018.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And hey, I got a chance to watch a lecture of yours on YouTube, you explaining how blockchain technology works. There's just so much to learn about it. And I really appreciate you taking on that challenge in developing young minds to get involved with the future, especially something that has to do with money governance and law later on down.
Yeah, thanks for saying this. I really try, when I try to explain something, I try to look at what is the audience. So when I am teaching to CS students, the audience is more technical, but when I'm trying to explain something that is for the general population, I'm trying to start from really ground zero.
Keep pushing, man. You're doing a great job. Now, we're going to talk about Pi Network. And what is unique about Pi Network compared to other blockchains coming out and other cryptocurrencies? What makes you guys different?
Yeah, so Pi Network is essentially a massive open community with over 35 million engaged members. And this community is powered by Pi, which is the world's most widely distributed cryptocurrency. So this platform that we're putting together is essentially creating a robust, especially accessible ecosystem for three types of people: for users, for developers who are building apps, and for merchants who are using apps. And what makes it different? I would say that we followed a number of non-consensus strategies compared to other cryptocurrencies. Like, for example, we didn't just focus on solving a technical problem. Sometimes you hear things like transactions per second and this and that technical solutions. But we also focused on solving the human problems. So having people engaged, having people on the platform to begin with. Another thing that we did differently is that our platform is not just focusing on blockchain native applications and nothing else, meaning like DeFi, NFT. Of course, these are possible on Pi, but this is not the only thing that the platform is focuses. It focuses on all types of applications that solve needs for mainstream audience. Let me see. Another different thing that we did slightly different here is that we focused on accessibility and inclusivity through essentially trying to reduce any kind of barriers for people to participate, such as financial barriers and technical barriers. So financially, we don't ask them to pay for anything to acquire Pi. In fact, it's not even possible for someone to do that. You can only mine it on the platform. And technical barriers, they don't need to be computer scientists or have complicated mining rigs at home that are allowing them to mine. All they need is a mobile phone and participate using.
Amazing. Yeah, there's like so many mining farms out there, and it's crazy how much it can damage the ecosystem, in my opinion. And we definitely need more room for improvement in protecting the environment. And that's a great way. And plus, you literally have a computer in the palm of your hand. So, and more people, the phone is so easy to use, a kid could navigate it. So that's just, you're going to get like 10-year-olds learning how to mine cryptocurrencies and then them making more money than their parents. It's amazing. So what will the KS or KYC solutions help the pioneers? How will it help the pioneers?
So how will it help? And first of all, Pi is from the beginning, we're building it as a fully compliant platform. We're here. Our identities are known, and we wanted it to, as part of compliance, these services, these networks need to do something called KYC. So KYC is Know Your Customer, stands for Know Your Customer, and it was initially used in traditional businesses. So in this case, in a blockchain, the word customer doesn't make a lot of sense, but I guess we're going with it. So the need for KYC is for compliance purposes, but also for the ability to have a more valuable ecosystem. So if you remember from maybe what is it now, 10, 20 years ago, when social networks started existing, there was a bunch of social networks before Facebook that were all composed of fake users and fake accounts, and every cat and dog had their own profile on the social network. And then Facebook came along, and it was the first one that was saying, no, we want real users. We want real people, real faces, real names. That was unheard of on the internet before that, because everybody was still afraid of putting the real name on the internet. And yet what happened is that it shifted the whole world's mentality, and people started using the internet for a lot more useful purposes. In the same thing now with blockchain, the first generation was, oh, let's use it for anonymity, but that didn't work out very well, and it doesn't produce as useful utility as it would have. And now the second generation is the one that is based on real identity, and actually this is how you can you're able to create true useful applications on top of blockchains. Now Pi created its own KYC solution. I'm happy to tell you about it as well. But
yeah, I remember when Facebook was out, and the way that they would weed out the fake users is you had to message like 10 people to make sure that you're actually real. It was just like such a process, and it was kind of annoying. I didn't like it, but when Facebook came out, it was just so much easier and actually better. So I think blockchain will be better in the future. And as more people get involved with it and start understanding the technology, you'll see a lot more use cases in it. And what was I going to say? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And so Why was accessibility an important factor for developing Pi Network?
Well, accessibility is very important. Any successful currency that wants to support a real ecosystem with utilities relies on a large social network, because in order for you to have true utility, you need to have many people recognize the cryptocurrency and are able to own it, and they are willing to transact goods and services with that currency. So the size of a crypto network essentially needs to hit an inflection point for real utilities and markets to form. And that's that after this inflection point, we will be able to have network effects.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say earlier. Blockchain technology, back to that, blockchain technology is like the internet in the 90s. Yeah. So that's what I just wanted to say. And you also made a great point with the accessibility. And what does this mean for the future of mining on mobile phones?
So I think that in order for you to have a useful cryptocurrency, you can't think 2009. So Bitcoin was great because it proved to the world that cryptocurrencies exist, and it is possible to have a decentralized ledger that is maintaining an accurate, essentially accurately maintains the balances of different people. Because before that, you would need a centralized bank to tell you what your true balance is. And with Bitcoin, the proof of concept of a decentralized bank essentially is possible. But that was 2009, and people were using computers, and it was a little slow, and it's consuming a lot of energy, as we all say, and its block takes 10 minutes. But today, if you want to have a cryptocurrency that is functional and useful to everyday people, it needs to be on mobile, and it needs to be more faster and more accessible. So to answer your question, I think that it is the future. Mobile, it has to be mobile.
Mm-hmm. Just like the metaverse. Pretty soon. Do you teach class from home?
My primary job is building Pi Network, but it just happens that every year since I left Stanford, I have been invited to co-instruct one of the blockchain classes over at Stanford. It's not official, but it just every year it just happens that they invite me again. So I teach the technical lectures in that class, and other instructors teach non-technical aspects.
Okay. I like it. Now, what are the stages of verification? I know sometimes it could be a little bit complex with the authenticator, and it can be kind of tedious to some people. So
the stages of authentication, can you maybe help me understand your question a little more?
How to access the cryptocurrencies or the coins?
The Pi, are you talking about Pi?
To how do I say, to make sure the person that's actually accessing it is actually them, not some hacker from across the other side of the world.
Yeah, there are two questions here. I guess one is about the user and one is about the consensus algorithm. I think you're more interested about the user. So so Pi has two levels.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, for the past few years, people have been mining it through a mobile app. So on that mobile app, they have been accumulating Pi as, let's say, tokens. And these are not these are the tokens that are going to be migrated into the Mainnet blockchain, and has been migrating. We have actually already migrated over 2.5 something million people into the Mainnet blockchain. So for these two systems, there is essentially two different ways of authenticating yourself. So for the mobile app system, we use a traditional username, password, or you can have Facebook sign in and a few other Apple sign in and a few other ways to authenticate yourself. Now for the actual blockchain, which is what happens after you KYC and your balance is migrated from the app into the blockchain. For the actual blockchain, we use non-custodial wallets. That's a mouthful, but for the audience who may not know what this means, it means that the users will have to remember a passphrase, and that passphrase is enough to fully authenticate themselves. And no one else knows that passphrase, to the point that if someone were to hack it, theoretically, without stealing it from you using a virus, if they were to actually hack it and hack SATO56, it would take them 100 billion years to do it using computational methods. Of course, they can try to steal, to deceive you, to give them your passphrase, which is a different problem. It's a user experience problem, but in terms of cryptography, it's very strong. So essentially, the proper way all cryptocurrencies are supposed to do it is through non-custodial wallets. So the users have to remember this passphrase. Now, because this passphrase is a little difficult to remember, we ask the users to save it on somewhere safe, and we help them use the phone's biometric features, such as the thumbprint or the facial scan, to essentially load up this passphrase using their phone's algorithms. And there are some phones, depending on companies, I guess you can tell that these days most phones are doing a pretty good job at securing those data.
The simplicity of it is very important, and I hope this encourages people to jump into it and not be afraid of memorizing a phrase. Just get into it. It's not that hard, and the more you learn about it, the easier it'll become. So
the good thing about the Pi, if you want me to add this, is that the whole ecosystem is built around the program we call the Pi browser. So it's like a web browser, but for Pi applications, and you can access the ecosystem there. And one of the applications of this Pi browser is the Pi wallet. So essentially, we have created a system where the various Pi apps can talk to each other and the Pi wallet, and they are able to interconnect. So let's say you are on a gaming app and you want to spend a few tokens to continue where you left off. So you say, I want to do it. You push a button, then it pulls the Pi wallet in front of you. Then you touch your thumb. It asks you if you are sure that you want to submit this amount of Pi to that specific app. You say yes or no, and then Pi is transmitted to the app, and you are directed back to where you were. And this whole thing connects together, making it as seamless as possible for the end user. So even though these concepts, cryptocurrencies and blockchain and all these things are sometimes could be very complicated for non-technical audience, we're trying to make it as simple as possible.
Now, would that be the trust graph working with the ecosystem?
Now, the trust graph is something core to our consensus algorithm. So it's the way that Pi works is it essentially creates a trust graph of people who are considered to be on the mainnet in a way. And if you there is a mathematical proof and a paper that is explaining this, which is about 20 pages long. But if you're trying to think of it very, very intuitively, If the Pi network was just, it wasn't the 35 million people plus we have, but it was just me, you, and a couple of your friends. And the way it works at Pi is that we get to select 3 to 5 people we know and trust, literally from our contact list. And this is for us, our security circle. And the combination of all the security circles creates the trust graph. So if in the network, it was me pointing at you and 2 other people, and you were pointing at me and some of them, and they were pointing at you, and we were pointing at each other. Essentially, if someone were to come and create 1,000 fake accounts, then those fake accounts wouldn't be able to affect the decisions that we make or where we allocate our trust. Because in order for them to modify anything in our decisions, they would need to convince us to stop pointing at each other and start pointing at them.
Okay. Now, you have a robust active member users, and it's 35 million plus, and that's pretty impressive, I would say. How did you get that many people involved into the Pi network in itself? Just, I can't wrap my mind around it. It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's about being clear on the value propositions and trying to create a true utility, trying to provide a safe and fair ecosystem for everyone. So essentially, it's about being simple to use, simple to develop, accessible, basically no financial or technical barriers to begin, and creating network effects.
All right. Now, what is your target audience for Pi Network?
Right, that's a very good question. So I think that in order for us to create anything that is that achieves mass adoption, and I think that's what the blockchain industry needs as a whole, and we all would like to collaborate on this. In order for the blockchain industry to achieve mass adoption, we shouldn't be only focusing on one small audience, like one specific segment. We should focus on everyday people. It's good and it's easy to get excited, a small group of tech enthusiasts or crypto people. And of course, it's necessary to begin from somewhere. We can begin from there, but we need to create interfaces that are accessible by everyone. So I would say, everyone, even our parents and our kids and
Believe me, I've been trying, and my mom and dad they think I'm crazy. They really do. They're just like, go get a job, start working, which I do, but I'm just like, but this is the future, mom and dad, you should get into it, especially while it's cheap. And it's just, they can't wrap their mind around it. They're just,
maybe we should send them a Pi invitation code and do the experiment to tell us if they will manage to do it.
Oh, I definitely will. Send it over, and that challenge is on.
All right.
So, does the bear market clean out the landscape, I mean?
That's right. Yes. So in the crypto space, there is a lot of noises, and also there is a lot of projects maybe that are in for the wrong reasons, maybe trying to have some quick effects without paying attention to long-term value. So it's usually the case that long-term valuable projects are usually started or basically persevered during low times. Yeah, because anything that gets very quick results can also very quickly decay. So we saw some of that in the previous months or the beginning of this period.
I agree. And It just shows who the real enthusiasts are. Also, I personally like the bear market. It's just something I like talking more about it when times are bad. Just because I know when times are good, people are just going to be like, "Hey, well, you know what, Sonny or Crypto Kid, you were right," or "Doctor, you were right," at school or something like, or your peers, or somebody that you were trying to convince, so or persuade.
There's something I like to. It's about going to conferences. So when the crypto space is very hot, then you go to conferences and there's so many people there, and the types of conversations sometimes you're having are very shallow. But when times are a little more smaller, then you tend to meet and discuss and have a lot more challenging conversations.
Exactly. And you have to have the answers for them. And sometimes you don't, because you're continuously learning about and going into rabbit holes with blockchain technology. And there's just so many use cases like for identity, healthcare, and so much more. What is it? The supply chain too.
Mm.
So when is the mainnet dropping for Pi Network?
Well, technically, we are already on Mainnet. So we launched it officially back in December of 2021. But Pi has done one other thing that is non-consensus. You asked me about this question earlier, and there's so many non-consensus things, is we created the concept of enclosed Mainnet and open Mainnet. So we're currently on the enclosed Mainnet, which means that the real blockchain is out there. We are in the process of performing KYC on the members and migrating their balances essentially over to the enclosed mainnet. During the enclosed mainnet period, it is not allowed to connect the Pi blockchain with any other blockchain or external systems. And during this period, it gives us time to do a few things, such as migrating all the members, as I said, over to the mainnet, continue building utility for the platform. It allows us to have more developers test their applications, and being able to do all that without any external noises or distractions, essentially. And it's an example, like, for example, the KYC solution we created was one of the Pi applications that we built on top of our own platform. And in order for someone to KYC themselves, they need to pay 1 Pi. And that 1 Pi is then distributed to everyone who is helping with their KYC. So there is both AI algorithms, as with every KYC solution, but when the AI algorithms need help from humans, then these humans are coming from the same network, so it's self-bootstrapping itself, and that's happening even during the enclosed period. Yeah, so the answer is that we are technically on mainnet already. It's called enclosed mainnet, and at some point we are going to move to the open network.
Thank you for clarifying that. You answered a lot of questions that I asked for people that have been watching YouTube videos like me and bringing out their curiosities. So definitely appreciate that. Any last words before we close? Like what's next for Pi Network?
So as I mentioned earlier, we recently announced this KYC solution, which has completed more than 3 million members right now have done their KYC, and that essentially is I think the largest blockchain migration in cryptocurrency history out there. So going forward, we want to continue this KYC and migration. We got a lot more members to accommodate and migrate to mainnet. So that's one thing. We need to continue building the ecosystem during the enclosed period. And that's basically by building more infrastructure needed and enabling utilities to be built by the community itself. So we are this weekend, actually, we are joining 3 hackathons at schools at Berkeley, Harvard, and Cornell. We are sponsoring tracks over there, so we may have some students building some Pi applications during those hackathons and initiatives like this for utility building. And finally, we are also building some utilities ourselves, including on the user side, meaning that end user applications people can use, but also on the infrastructure side, such as we have a brainstorm application where people can go and brainstorm and create Pi apps. In fact, in the past, there were more than 10,000 ideas that were proposed in this platform, and we are improving it. And other things like this, such as we have a translation app, which is currently used by some translation task force that we have for many languages, that people from the platform are translating themselves our interfaces. So in the future, this internal app that we have, we're going to make it public so that the other application developers can also use it to translate their own applications. That's it for us. Building.
I'm honored to have you on the show, and it's been a pleasure of mine. I hope you had as much fun as I did on this. And yeah, man, I wish you the best of luck with your endeavors, Doctor. And
thanks for having me.
anytime.
It was indeed fun.
All right. So have a good night, sir.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.